For some, this means the fear of being stripped by the legal titles that we have, the power, the prestige, and the privileges that we enjoy. We see the politics of fear at work when political figures shy away from speaking truth to power because their allies might revoke their positions. Far too long have we been invested in our indebtedness to those who have brought us to where we are in life. Some bend over backwards to accommodate these patrons, turn a blind eye, and facilitate the ejection of political rivals. This should no longer be the case. We are indebted to no one except the mandate of our office. We are not accountable to the appointing power or the present administration. The powerful are not our principals. Our principals are the voiceless, the powerless, the Filipino people, long suffering from the abuse of the powerful. The rule of law should be the rule of social justice. What must be legal in our hands must be what is just. This is not to say we ignore present realities. I have spoken extensively about the need to interpret the law in context. The law is not a monolith to be followed blindly. Its text, a codified norm, and like all texts, must be read against the social, historical, and political factors that produce it and that continue to support it. Contestation of dominant views that have not worked for everyone, not the mythical deliberative consensus of the anonymous few, is the foundation of democracy. Contestation and challenge is the foundation of democracy. Law and its interpretation should be the product of that contestation. Our Constitution embeds the words social justice as one of its important principles alongside democracy. Social justice should be elaborated in every case we decide and every case that you file. It often requires that we not deliver on the short-term political expectations of those who consider us their allies. It may be that social justice, the result required to favor the vulnerable and the marginalized, may be a decision or a position that goes against the interests of those in power. It may be that the requirement of social justice requires you to judge your demise as a public officer. That may be possible. While we hold public trust, we must always be aware that the power entrusted in us is temporary. We must not fear losing it if doing so means we have done what is right. The moment we believe that our task is to prolong our tenure in office, regardless of whether it will address the liberation of our people from oppression and abuse, we will become lost in a false rhetoric fueled by paranoia and grandiosity. We become slaves of the greedy. We must understand, however, also that we are not here to be saviors of the masses. Instead, our role is to understand the narratives of those who suffer and to enable and empower them. We are only as good as the work we do in raising the consciousness of the people we serve. Our work is to help them recognize their latent power. For the judiciary and the ombudsman, this means always improving this concept of access to justice. The people do not need a Messiah to save them. That is impossible. EDSA 1 and EDSA 2 taught us that there can be no Messiah. People power should remain people power, not a legitimization of a faction of the elite using the rhetoric of democracy and people to further inequality and disempowerment. Tulad nga ng palaging sinasabi ng iba, walang magpapalaya sa atin kung hindi tayo mismo. Walang magpapalaya sa atin kung hindi tayo mismo. Hindi presidente, hindi savior, hindi Messiah. Taong bayan, organized, demanding of us that we do our jobs. This is where we begin dismantling the politics of fear. When we look beyond our positions and titles and focus on the work of empowering and enlightening our people, we become safe from it. We become ready for our own demise. We accept that we will not be remembered as heroes. We accept that our legacy is to lessen the suffering of our people, even if we are not remembered. Our goal is liberation, not remembrance. I repeat, our goal is liberation, not remembrance. What we need now are statesmen, who are not swayed by immediate political pressures. And we need leaders, not demagogues. We need wisdom, not viral posts. We need leaders who live their principles, not those who live for memes. The times call for leadership that invites critical thinking rather than fear, decisive decision-making rather than rash action, and genuine service rather than self-serving public statements. We will never be fully immune to the politics of fear or the temptations of power. There will be moments of weakness, and as humans, we will slip. This is why we need to be inspired by those we work with. We need to be reminded that being critical does not mean being psychopaths. Sa Tagalog, mga sipsip, to those whom we are indebted. We must leave behind our fear of being unmoored from our positions, sacrificing in turn our duty to our people. We must have the courage. Serving our people well with intention and purpose is difficult. Doing what is right and just will often displease the status quo. I will repeat. Doing what is right and just will often displease the status quo. If we live under injustice, then it should displease them. That displeasure will invite a propaganda of shame to be directed at us. I know. I have been there. I am still there. You should know. You have been there. You are still there. They will do their work. Our response should be to do better. Doing better, we contribute to unmooring the foundations of their greed. Doing better, we will lessen our own people's suffering. If that be the price of our service, then so be it. The key to a fuller understanding of our roles is simple. Our titles and our power are not for us. It is not about us. It has never been about us. And therefore, we should aim never to only be remembered. Finally, I leave you with two further ideas that have inspired me. First, the worst emotion to feel at the brink of death, and this is very important, to think about that moment that you die. The worst emotion to feel at that brink of death is regret. Regret means that we live in the present, hoping that we have done better in the past. Regret is best addressed by realizing the privileges we have now. Regret can be avoided by being critically aware of the consequences of choosing convenience right now over discomfort, even though we know that discomfort leads to what is right for others. Do not let regret be the legacy that you leave. Serve with integrity while we still can. Choosing to do nothing or choosing what is convenient but not just is a political act. It not only causes injustice for our people. If we do that, it is the cause of injustice. At some point in our careers, many of us are tempted to simply be quiet. We grow tired. We grow comfortable. We tell ourselves that someone else will speak, that someone else will act, that this is not our fight. But silence is never neutral. It is permission. Remaining silent in the face of corruption, especially when we hold office, authority, and voice, is complicity in injustice. Silence is not prudence. Silence is not humility. Silence is injustice. Second, I again emphasize that the titles and masks we currently carry are transient. we will be forgotten. And the chase for attribution and remembrance of who we are is a fool's journey. What is important is that we know when we are alone and forgotten that our lives have mattered. That we have not only lessened the suffering of another human being, but also contributed to a society where all have the capability and the ability to achieve a meaningful life, not like what we have right now. That we have contributed to truly meaningful freedoms. Let us do what is right. Let us do what we can. Our people still suffer. Our people still suffer under our watch. We will not fail them. We cannot fail them. Agyamanak, maraming salamat.
A lot, in my opinion, no, a lot of what ails our country is because of organized religion. No, anytime a faith asks you, anytime an institution asks you to check your brains and the doorstep in the door before you can join them, be suspicious. No, you have to, in my opinion, no, you have to be able to be a sovereign being. You have to be able to think. You have to be able to ask the hard questions of your faith. You have to be able to ask questions about the Catholic or whatever faith it is, because this will form your most intimate and your most important decisions in life. You have to, in other words, question authority. In other words. And
Ang
it was
maganda pong binanggit mo yan, Ma'am Lorena, dahil the Roman Catholic Church traditionally ay nag-e-exert po ng influence sa politika at mga buhay panglipunan ng mga Pilipino.
Yes.
Totoo yan,
Yeah.
ano? Pero hindi lahat tama ang kanilang mga influence na ito. For example, inahabol nila ngayon si Sara Duterte, kunwari, for issue of corruption, graphing corruption, pero tahimik at pumapalakpak sila ng patago dahil kinakadel sila at pinoprotektahan at pinupunduhan ni Marcos at Romualdez, tahimik sila sa 1.4 trillion pesos na iskandalo ng pagnanakaw sa flood control and trillions of pesos more in other infrastructure projects. So anong tawag dyan? Di ba wala namang ibang pang termino na pwedeng gamitin? Kaipokrituhan yan, mga kababayan. Pangalawa, sabi nyo para kayo sa matino na panggobyerno, kasama nyo ang mga komunistang teroristang grupo na nagpo-promote ng pagpatay, panununog, pangbobomba, pang-ambush, pagre-recruit sa kabataan, pagpatay sa mga sibilyan, at tuloy-tuloy hanggang ngayon pati ang panggagahasa sa kababaihang nare-recruit sa NPA. Bakit nyo sila kasama? Samantalang walang ganong record o anumang karanasan o track record o anumang mga impormasyon na may ganong kinasasangkutan si Pangulong Duterte o kaya si Sara Duterte, bakit sila ang kinakalaban? Hindi ito mga tao na naghahasik ng lagim, kaguluhan at pagkawasak ng lipunan at buhay ng mamamayang Pilipino. Bakit dito sumasama ito mga pamunuan ng Roman Catholic Church sa Pilipinas? Malaking katanungan yan, binabanggit nga ni Ma'am Lorena, no? You may be stronger in influence, but it does not matter kung ang taong bayan ngayon ay namumulat na, wala na pong busay-sayan kasi alam ng taong bayan kung paano nyo pinagtakpan ang mga magnanakaw, ang mga mandarambong, ang mangungurakot. Bakit ginagamit, Ma'am Lorraine, itong semblance of religious organizations to form part of the so-called wide latitude of complainants in the impeachment complaint against Sara Duterte, maliban sa credibility purpose? Sa tingin ko, ma'am, ginagamit ito para sa propaganda talaga. Para yung mga hindi maaabot ng pagpapaliwanag, ay sasabihin nila, o tingnan mo, mga madre, pare, pastor, nagsama-sama, masama talaga yung mga Duterte. Masama talaga yan si Sara Duterte. Yan ay kung hindi po magpupursige tayo ng mga namumulat na upang ipaliwanag po ang kontra-naratibo at kontra-impormasyon, pwedeng makapanloko at makapanlinlang sila. Pero, syempre, hindi natin papayagan yon sapagkat natututo ang mga Pilipino sa karanasan, like Ma'am Lorraine. Nagkukunwari sila Dilima, sila Asidri, sila Trillanes na sila ang sa likod ni Madriaga. Pabalik-balik sila doon. Sila ang nagbi-briefing before mag-execute ng affidavit niya si Madriaga, ay si Dilima nakipagpulong sa kanya. And then, bago isa lang ang impeachment complaint kay Sara Duterte, si Madriaga nakipagpulong din kina Asidri at iba pang mga personalidad na konektado dito sa mga complainants na ito. Sa tingin ba ninyo ito ay maitatago ninyo sa taong bayan? Sa tingin ba ninyo nakakahawa ang kabanalan dahil may suot na sotana ang pare at madre ay may mga habito at dahil may mga pastor dyan, si Benny Abante, pastor din. Pero tinatawag siyang banal na aso, santong kabayo. Hindi siya nirerespeto sapagkat nakikita ng taong bayan ang kanyang ginagawa, ang kanyang mga sasamahan niya, yung mga manunupil at abusado sa Kongreso na nasasangkot sa pagnanakaw at pag-abuso sa poder at kapangyarihan. So hindi po nakakahawa ang kabanalan mula sa sotana at habito, subalit ito po ay mas lalo lamang nagpapakita ng sinasabi namin ni Ma'am Noreen, contrast of reality. Sa totoo lang, ginagamit yan na cover para magkunwari, hindi para magbigay ng lehitimong reklamo sapagkat wala naman talagang ebidensya sila kundi maniobra at manipulasyon ang ginagamit nila dahil alam nila they have the numbers at the House of Representatives right now, Ma'am Noreen.
Ang ganda nga, ang ganda talaga ng ng nangyayari ngayon, age of information, napakaganda. Kasi yung mga sutana na yan at saka yung mga habito ng mga madre, when I was growing up, no, for a lot of Filipinos, where did we see them? We saw them in anti-Marcos rallies, di ba? Sila yung galit na galit kay Marcos, no? So bakit ngayon, ang ganda kasi, ang galing talaga kasi ni Bongbong, talagang maliwanag na magnanakaw. O talaga, maliwanag na magnanakaw. Kumbaga, lightning rod talaga siya. Para siyang neon sign, magnanakaw ako. So pag ikaw ay kumampi sa magnanakaw na napaka-obvious na tapos na ang debate, no? Talagang magnanakaw yan. Kahit ano pa sabihin ni Ping Lacson, kahit ano pa sabihin ng HOR, ng mga buwaya din yung mga putsang yan, di ba? So, ang kagandahan dyan kay Bongbong Marcos, his utility, no, ang gamit niya, ay pinapakita niya sa Pilipino, ito mga madre, ito mga pare, dati anti-Marcos ito, ngayon Marcos na Marcos, kahit na halatang magnanakaw ako, di ba? Tapos ang hinahabol nila ay si Sara Duterte na clear na ng COA ilang beses with the highest opinion, unqualified opinion. Ibig sabihin, hindi magnanakaw si Inday Sara. So bakit nila hinahabol? Tsaka all those years, galit na galit ang Catholic Church kay Marcos. Pero nung pagdating ni Digong, na nagkaroon ng free education, nagkaroon ng universal healthcare, bakit di ko magbibig nila? Aba po siya, mag-isip naman kayo kung kanina ninyo binibigay ang tiwala ninyo, hindi lang sa politikong pulpol, kung hindi sa mga santong banal na, di call that, Eric? Kundi sa mga...
Santong kabayo, banal na aso.
Yun. Totoo, di ba? I mean, really. And yun, ganun. So, ang kagandahan kasi ng mga Hapon, no, and other countries na umusad ang bansa nila, marunong mag-isip ang kanilang mga mamamayan. At nakikita ko yun sa Pilipino ngayon, na despite, no, the multi-billion, maybe even trillion operation for misinformation, para bidabidahin itong si drug addict, kanal na kanal pa rin ang survey niya, 'di ba? So nag-iisip na ang Pilipino. So yun yung maganda doon. Pero mag-isip pa tayo further, 'di ba? Further, you have to be able to question authorities. You have to be able to question figures that you've trusted all your life. Are they still worthy? Are they still worthy? Kasi sinasabi ni alam mo ba, Eric, I'm not quoting verbatim, sabi ni Carl Jung, yung the morning of your life will be so different from the evening of your life. The things that you used to believe in the morning of your life, at the evening of your life will have become a lie. Oh yeah, man, I'm telling you, I'm a dinosaur. So all those things that I thought were sacred at that time, like for instance, the Nobel Peace Prize, binigay ba naman kay Maria Ressa, kung hindi ka ba naman noon, di ba? Nakakatawa, di ba? So, at saka age of information talaga, no? Andiyan nakita na natin na sinasabi na it's already being discussed in the open what the CIA is, what the deep state is, what they've done to Ukraine, to Afghanistan, all the evils in this world. And now the Epstein files are out there, and then we can put two and two together, and Laila de Lima holding hands with these phony hypocrites, di ba? So, di ba?
And speaking about that, ma'am, yung ambisyon sa poder at kapangyarihan, nakakapagpabubutin pala, no?
Oh,
Hindi
yeah.
lang pala ito nagiging ipokrito ka at naging banal-banalan, kagaya ng mga nakasuot ng sotana at habito na nagagamit sila nitong mga hilaw na komunistang grupo ng Akbayan, nakikipaglambot-singan sa mga komunistang teroristang grupo na mamamatay tao, nanununog ng bobomba, pumapatay ng pulis at sundalo, at
Yeah.
nagre-recruit at nagwawasak ng buhay ng kabataang Pilipino, pero barkada nila. Barkada nila, pero